Hey everyone! I got the clicky clacky.
All
right.
The Gauge. Welcome to the Gauge.
Welcome to the Gauge.
Episode 5. We made it to 5 episodes.
We did. That's remarkable. It's been so much fun.
I mean, you did miss the last.
I know.
The last one. So
I know. And I heard that Jordan, I watched it because I had FOMO, so I did actually watch it even though I wasn't here. And Jordan was great. And
yeah.
I was really concerned that he was going to replace me, Dan.
No, we can't replace you.
Well, I mean, I think we...
And then if I replace you, then you'll probably just end up replacing me.
No. Here, I feel like you need to... scoot over.
We'll go okay.
Okay, look, so we're both in there.
There we go.
Okay.
So yeah, welcome to episode 5 of The Gauge. We are officially doing these every other Wednesday.
Every other Wednesday.
And so usually I've been doing different little icebreaker questions for each episode. And so I was going to open up this one with, since Carla she skipped out the other Gauge because she went to a concert.
I was exhausted by the fame.
So I was gonna ask Carla, either tell me about your first concert you've ever been to, or your first music festival.
Can I tell you about both?
Both?
Well, I'll just say that the first one was Gloria Estefan and the Miami Sound Machine in 1983. And so it's not like before Dan was born.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say, so that's really nothing. We can just stop with that. I knew that would be quick. But probably the first festival I would say was a Grateful Dead show in 1994, which is not really a festival, but if you've ever been to one, I mean, you have the vendors, you have the music, you have the food, and it is its own little festival, even though it's just a giant performance of the Grateful Dead.
Right. They've always done a big, huge ordeal over their concerts, if
For
you
sure.
will.
It is a show in itself. You don't really need anything else. So that was in 1994. So that I would say that was the first festival that I went to.
Where was it at? That
was in Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Other than Iowa state fairs,
Dan's from Iowa.
Concert festivals. I feel like I don't know what really was my first concert, but as far as my first major festival would be Rock'n Park, which is a 3-day festival in Germany. And they have it's 2 different festivals, but the main one's called Rock'n Park, and it's usually everyone from metal to jam bands to everyone goes to Germany to perform at this 3-day festival.
So there's something for everyone there.
There's something for everyone there, to the point where I actually planned my R&R when I was in Iraq. I actually planned my R&R around Rock'n Park festival, so I can make sure I can go to the Rock'n Park festival.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
Neat.
So we are on episode 5 of The Gauge tonight. We are currently at 10 viewers. Let's get those numbers up. The more people that we have in here, the more the Instagram algorithm shows it to other people and other followers.
This is very nerdy stuff, but it's true.
So make sure that you're liking the live here for us and sharing it when you can. We're definitely trying to make a big push to get the Gauge up and going a little bit more, and we got a lot of big plans that we can kind of go into a little bit later.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to start with what I'm going to call our new little segment. Well, yes. Okay.
New segment.
Called HomeGauge in the World News. So this is us being out and about and talking to inspectors and being out in the world. So our HomeGauge team, including our president, Paul McIntyre, had a great time at Wahi last weekend. They loved connecting with everyone there and got some real good feedback and met some super nice people. Next up, we're heading to Nicklea this weekend, which is North Carolina. It's in Carolina Beach, and wanted to give a big shout out to Robert Wilson, the executive director, for putting this year's show together and welcoming our people beginning on March 10th. So go see Chelsea and Aiden at our booth there. And finally, our world famous Susie will be doing an online training on March 17th for Cal Patel, a 20-year HomeGauge user. He's having a big conference event to celebrate his 20th anniversary. So lots of stuff happening in the next, last week and in the next, the upcoming week or two. So we're out there doing stuff.
Yeah, there's
Those are the things.
Definitely a lot of things going down and happening. Especially with it warming up and being spring, and going to be summer before we know it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, it's felt like spring. February, the worst month ever, was gorgeous. It was so pretty, wasn't it?
I mean,
it was there was no snow. It wasn't what February is supposed to be, like dreary and depressing and dismal. But it was in the 60s.
She hates February.
I don't like February.
Even though it's our birthday month.
We've already talked about this. We talked about this in episode 1. So,
Yeah.
But February is just usually so bleak and horrible. And this...
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
No, it was great. I mean, it was balmy and lovely. And it was really short because it's always really short. And so now it's already March. So we made it to March, which is wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm stoked for stoked for spring to finally get here, and I'm also in the middle of my degree program, and I'm looking forward to finally being done with school.
We are too.
And then I talk about it a lot, so.
I mean, he's a little busy. All right. Well, if anyone has any questions, roll them in. Otherwise, we do have a place for you to ask questions, and we got a couple. So there's an email address. It's ask@homegauge.com that you can send your questions into, and we will answer them live. And so we do have a couple. Let's see here.
Hold on one second. I'm gonna go right around here real quick. I gotta fix our little camera off to the side. Be right back. You keep going.
I feel like
I gotta pull this away. I just gotta pull that away.
I feel like I'm playing statue.
There we go. Pause.
I know, you paused me.
Okay.
Game on.
Okay, so yeah, for those of you that are just joining us or have never been to a live episode of The Gauge, we do ask for audience participation and ask any kind of questions that you would like to ask.
Anything.
Carla and I are, on the web team. So there's only so much questions that we can ask or we can answer about the specifics of the software, but we will definitely do our best. And we will have other members of HomeGauge on the Gauge from time to time.
Special guests.
Mm-hmm. Like we did last week or 2 weeks ago
with Jordan. My replacement.
Yeah, so feel free if you have any kind of questions or anything, feel free to kind of put it into the chat. But like Carla was just saying here, we do have a few questions that came into our ask@HomeGauge email.
Right. So the first one was, got your invite and was just wondering, y'all built my site 5 or 6 years ago, but said it was best to get a new one to be in your blogs. Just wanting some more info on that. Well, so there's a lot to unpack here. So as far as websites go, it's really important that you stay up to date with your website. Design preferences and user preferences are constantly changing. WordPress, what we build sites in, is constantly improving. The browsers, Google, what people expect and what people want, is always changing. So we like to say that websites age in dog years. So that means your 5-year-old website or 6-year-old website, is it 7 years? It's like 42 years old, really.
So we typically say, try to have your website rebuilt every 3 years, because honestly, that's how fast things move when it comes to Google's web standards. Trying to making sure that you're staying on top of all of that. So we usually typically say every 3 years.
Yeah. 3 years is a general rule.
So with his question, he said 5 or 6 years ago is when he had his site built.
Yeah.
So it's definitely probably about time.
Right. And the way that we explain it too is, so if y'all watch these shows and see our videos, I use analogies for everything, but it is kind of like if you buy a car, 5 years ago, at the time it was brand new, it was great. But if you were to buy a new car today, it's going to have different features, and it's going to have, some better efficiencies, and it's going to work better with different, technology. So if you think of your website like a car, it's like there's nothing wrong with it, but, you probably would want to update it. And, especially with inspectors and, being a service-based business and relying on this as their virtual storefront, it's certainly important that, you're keeping it fresh and that your website is, well suited to work with the search engines and work with Google. So that said, when people approach us that have built their sites and they want to know if they're, okay to be, this is in blogs in our SEO program, then, we will say we could do SEO on your site, but it's kind of like, you'd be really better off to buy a new site and then go into SEO.
It'd almost be like, installing a new car radio, but on a car a car radio system, but like on a car that is like 20 years old.
Right. It's like, do you want to invest in something that has more value than what you're putting it in or something? Although that would be a very expensive stereo.
So what we're trying to say is that you want to make sure that your base structure is there first for your website.
The infrastructure
is there, and everything is adhering to the latest web standards first. And then, by all means, then get into the SEO program.
For sure.
Have us do the monthly blogs for your site, and then go from there.
Yeah, definitely. So that was a really, really good question. And, there's really there's never a bad time to invest in your business, but, I think we talked about this in one of our January shows that, especially now is a great time of year. Before, we're headed into busy season, and now's a great time, when you have maybe a little more time on your hands, because we all know that, everything picks up more March, April, May, late March, April, May. So now's a perfect time really to, get a jump on that so that your site is in, tip-top shape for the season and has all the tools that your customers expect to be able to, contact you and book inspections and retrieve their reports. So definitely give us a call.
Yeah, it's one less thing that you have to worry about when you're entering your busy season. You don't want to have to be worrying about your website when you're also trying to worry about getting all of the different inspection reports done.
Yep, for sure. Let's see. So the next question that came in. I've been in SEO with you for a few months and don't really see what's happening yet. Well, let's have
They've
a
been in
conversation.
for a few months. I mean, that's what happens all the time is like, a lot of people just automatically think that, just because they're in an SEO program that okay, well, I should be on first page of Google like tomorrow. And unfortunately, that's just not how it works.
It doesn't work like that. So with our SEO program, the first few months that you're in it is we're doing technical on-site optimizations. So we are compressing images and minifying stuff and making your site load faster. And we're doing back-end things that you're not going to be able to see on the front end of your website. But it's important data and information for the search engines when they crawl your site to know what your site's about. So it's all the back end magic that we're doing in the first few months. Like Dan said, though, we do have people that join, and we have people where their site launched yesterday and they call us today and say, hey, my site went live yesterday and I don't find it on Google. And you're not going to. I mean, that's not how it works. There's millions and millions of websites that launch every day. This is why SEO, or search engine optimization, is like one of the most crucial and critical things that you can do to support your business. Because that back end work. So for this question from Mark about being an SEO for a few months, and don't see what's happening, we don't expect you to, because you're not going to.
Right.
That said, so with our program, so the first 3 months are the back-end optimizations, and then month 4 is when we begin blogging for you. We recommend you staying in SEO always. Our program, when you sign up for it, is a minimum of 6 months. But really, like, the longer you're in it, the better that you're going to perform with the search engine result pages. And that's like another analogy. If you join a gym, you're not going to expect results the very next day, or even, within a few days. So, or a few months. So yes, the longer that you're in SEO, the better it'll be. Outside of what we're doing for your site, and the reason that we do blogs is because that is providing fresh content for the search engines, which it encourages Google to crawl your site more often. So when it's crawling your site and there's a relevant, original, piece of content that's useful to the community and helpful, that's shared and clicked on, you're not only driving traffic to your site, you're also showing Google that the lights are on and that your site is useful and relevant and being maintained and putting out important information. Because the most important thing for Google and for the search engines is that it's the user experience. So it's the resources that you're putting out there. Google values user experience and having relevant and important and useful content over almost anything else. That's what's going to help you get up there. So the longer you're putting out content and the more active you are in trying to drive traffic to your site, whether it's booking inspections, that way getting, phone calls or contact forms, also report logins. If you use HomeGauge software, you can log in to get your report. Every time someone visits your site, that's just going to give you some more juice with Google.
The more times that you can be able to direct people to your website, the better that it's going to be, and to show that your website is active, like Carla was saying, like adding that fresh content. Like there's a reason why, like, there's a lot of other agencies require even like 2-year contracts for their SEO programs.
3-year minimum was what I did with my own business before I joined HomeGauge.
And the reason is just like, it's you can't expect it to happen overnight. It is a process for organic SEO.
Sure.
Like we talked about in the other episodes about, of course, you can do Google ads, right? And shell out a ton of money to Google ads, but as soon as you stop paying Google, that all goes away.
Your traffic drops to organically whatever it would have been.
Right.
So it's an artificial inflation that makes people feel good because they're like, oh, look, where they are. But it's something, that you're paying for Also, as far as like AdWords goes, it does take a while to craft a good campaign that's going to start getting clicks for you. So it's not like you can just be like, here's $100, put me on page 1. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, you can't just target, the keyword home inspections, and you still might not even show up on Google from that.
So anyway, we can talk about this like all day long, but so circling back to Mark who asked the question, just absolutely, stick with it. Like it's worth it. You should be getting reports in month 1, month 2, month 3 with the technical back end work that's done, and then you'll begin getting blogs in month 4. And of course, always give us a call if you have any questions. We give advice to people all the time, and there are so many other things you can be doing outside of what we're doing. SEO is just a piece of the puzzle. And it's one of those, it's a critical piece of the puzzle, but there are still other, things that you can do to encourage traffic to your site and to make your site more appealing to the search engines. And we can literally talk about that forever.
I mean, like, even if you're like a new inspector that is getting your first website, or you're a veteran inspector, that there's just a lot of different things that you could be doing while you're in the program, or when you're just starting out. When like the first 3 months that we're doing that technical back end, there's a whole laundry list of things that you could be doing for your business, as far as making sure that your website is being seen and that your business is being seen on Google. And we want to do more topics about that and more little deep dives.
Get reviews on Google. Everything spirals into something else.
Making sure that your service area is correctly mapped out on your Google business profile, which we went into a couple episodes ago, but we're going to be revisiting that again. Numerous times. So I definitely want to do more deep dives into that with other episodes for the Gauge. So one of the questions that we did have come into the chat here is, do you set up our site name for us? I'm imagining like your domain name. Your domain name.
So yes, we will set up your website for you. As far as your site name, was the question?
That was
your site name? No. So HomeGauge is not a domain registrar. That is generally going to be someone like GoDaddy, wherever you purchase a domain name from. So HomeGauge is not a seller of domain names. We're not a registrar. We're not a reseller. That's something that it's a very common question. And usually people find out the answer when they fail to renew their domain name, because they're paying HomeGauge to host their website and they think that that's included, but it has nothing to do with hosting your website. So the people who host with us will sometimes ignore their notices about getting their domain name renewed. And they're like, oh, HomeGauge got me. And it's like, not in that area, we don't. Because it's whoever you register your name with.
And that's pretty common practice for that. Like just making sure that you're keeping tabs on who you buy your domain name through.
Right.
But yeah, we don't host the actual domain name, but you purchase the domain name or the site name, the business name through someone like GoDaddy.com, or I mean, there's numerous. I mean, you can get through Google domains, and then you simply basically point that domain name to the website that we host.
Right.
So we can also talk about that for
I know everything just spills over into everything else.
The biggest tip that I can just say, just make sure that you know exactly when that domain name is up for renewal, because you do not want to miss payment on that.
Nope.
It's very bad news.
Bad news.
a story I had told was
Tell it again.
there was a church who their websites, they let their domain name expire on accident, and when we went to go look up how to purchase the domain name again, someone had already bought it. And unfortunately for this church, that
it was inappropriate,
an X-rated,
not safe for work,
an X-rated
content.
X-rated content
On this inspection website.
No, on this church website.
Right. Church website. But it's happened to inspectors too.
But it's happened to inspectors as well. And so biggest takeaway is like if you can purchase the domain name, sometimes they give you an option to purchase the domain name for like 2 years out,
right, or 3 years or 5 years.
Just go ahead and do that. Mark it on your calendar, mark it on your phone when it's up for renewal. That way that doesn't happen to you.
And you can also just forward us the email and say, hey, do I need to pay this? And we'll say yes.
Right.
Ask the question. Like, that question is a way better question than us trying to figure out restoring your site or figuring something else out. So if you have any questions at all, just give us a email. Forward it to us.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me, because everyone gets a ton of emails and a ton of spam emails, right? From everybody, right? So there are a lot of people that are like, is this a real email from Google or from GoDaddy? Like, do I really owe them this much money for my domain name? But that kind of goes me into I've also been asked. I had an inspector that sent me an email, and it was like it listed the domain name price that was up for renewal, but then it had listed all of these other add-ons too. And the inspector asked me, well, I was like, okay, well, you definitely need to pay your domain name.
Right.
But there was a lot of other add-ons.
Oh, I know. They're tricky.
That they have on there that they didn't need to pay for. So I ended up saving that inspector hundreds of dollars each year because they didn't need all those other add-ons because we provided it for free.
Probably like an SSL.
Like an SSL. And there was also some other, I forget exactly what those other add-ons were, but they weren't necessary.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely. So if you ever have a question on any of those other emails like that,
we would rather answer the question and help you out than have you make a terrible mistake.
Yeah.
And particularly, I'm not sure if we've been clear about this, but definitely renew your domain name. Like, it is so important because it is not something we have any control over, and you certainly don't want your site to go down or someone else to snatch up your name and put a really awful other website.
Or try to charge you.
Try to charge you a ton of money to get it back. I mean, it's awful. So yeah, we'd much rather, you err on the side of caution, send it to us, and we'll be like, oh no, this is, you absolutely have to do this, or absolutely you do not do this, or someone's trying to scam you, because there are people who will try to scam you too. Right. For sure.
Another question that came into the chat here is, should I list all cities and counties I cover on my website? Should I list all cities and counties I cover on my website?
Well,
it's a great question to ask, because there are, you want to make sure that you are showcasing the different cities. And I really don't know about counties. If you really want to go into cities and counties, I would say either or. But the biggest thing is that you do not need to or don't want to list every single city or every single town that you serve on your site.
Because it looks awful.
It looks horrible, first off. And
Google will think that you're trying to trick people.
That's the biggest thing.
So back in the old days, people did used to do that, and they would list, it would be a crazy list of, every city, town, county, in like 100-mile radius or something.
Yeah.
But that's a real dated practice. With Google focusing so much on quality content, what is on your site needs to be relevant, useful, and something that a user can easily digest. On top of that, the way that keywording of a website works is you want to narrow your focus, right? So we're in Asheville, North Carolina. If someone is a home inspector here, they're going to want to target Asheville people, right? They might also pick Hendersonville, Weaverville, so towns and but they're going to want to pick the 3 main ones of those.
Right.
Because what you want to think about is, what is someone going to naturally search for, right? So someone in Buncombe County is probably not going to look for Buncombe County home inspector. They might, but it's more likely they're going to look for home inspector Asheville, or home inspector Weaverville, or home inspector Hendersonville.
Or they'll type in inspectors near this town.
Right.
But yeah, so be able to just list out the main cities, your main cities that you're trying to service, and then you can always say you can always put in the Asheville in the greater area or something like that. Your customers that read that on the website, they're gonna know that you definitely can serve this town or city that's right next to that main city. And then from there, I would say just making sure, like I said, that your service area is correctly mapped out on Google profile.
Everything waterfalls into
yeah. So I mean that would be the preferred method.
Right. And another thing too, because this kind of goes back to the previous question about SEO in the first few months and what we do on the back end. So we are putting keywords and service areas in your website. And if you join our SEO program, then you get a questionnaire, and we ask you to fill out your top, your major service areas. And then once we're back there, we do have on the back end of your website, there's a limited number of characters in a field, which is why, and this is what the search engines are going to read, which is why it's we really need you to narrow your focus, because we can keyword your site for a limited number of service areas. So you want to pick the biggest ones. Now, if you're an inspector who's in a smaller town, and this goes into a whole different conversation about, service areas and how SEO for someone where there's maybe 5 home inspectors in the town, they're probably all 5 going to eventually be on page 1 of Google because there's no competition, right? But if you're in a large city that has thousands of home inspectors, obviously it's going to be way more competitive. So in those cases, if you're in a super big city that maybe spans a whole bunch of miles, a whole lot of miles, then you might want to narrow your focus. It might make sense at that point to be well, I'm not going to capture all of Atlanta. Let me focus on this area or this area. And you might actually have a little more luck with that if everyone else is just putting Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Or Houston or something.
You definitely want to be very strategic about that. You might think that, targeting Atlanta would be the best bet, but if you're a brand new inspection business, it would be almost in your favor to, target one of the other
less competitive surrounding areas.
Exactly.
That someone who is established might already be see who's on page 1 and figure out how you're finding them. I mean, it's not magic really. I mean, Google home inspection in a service area and see who's up there and be how big are they? Anyway, so yeah, that's something to that's it. We
for
keep
those
spinning off.
for those that are just joining us, go ahead if you have any other questions. We'll also answer any kind of fun questions too.
I know. No one's really asked us anything fun today.
But feel free to ask those in the chat here. There are a couple other questions that I think that we got in our email. Again, that email is ask@homegauge.com. If you have any questions at any time during the week that you want to have us ask or have us answer live on the gauge, we're putting that all into a spreadsheet and kind of we'll ask that on our next episode. So we've been trying to talk a little bit about that. I don't know if you had any other.
No, there was one more question from the Ask At, but I think we touched on a little bit, but okay. it was about how important is it for the reviews, and it's a little vague. And I mentioned that it's really important to get Google reviews.
Right.
So I'm not sure it wasn't really a whole lot of, that's all it was.
We can just touch upon the on Google reviews just a little bit.
They're the ones that matter.
So those are the ones that really matter the most. Like we said in other episodes, you can get Yelp reviews, you can get reviews on a million different platforms, but when it comes down to it, you really just want to be sending your customers to your Google profile, and making sure that you're getting reviews on there, and then also making sure that you're replying to each of those reviews. Nicely. And if you we're going to be talking about that in a later episode as well. Yeah, we should have a deep
dive into the do's and don'ts of Google reviews. Yeah. But I will say, and I tell inspectors this all the time, that it is the single most important thing that you can do to boost your local SEO. And as inspection companies are service-based businesses that serve a specific area, that local SEO, and the thing is, it's free. So if you are getting reviews on Google, the more reviews you have, the quality of those reviews, the number of the reviews that you have, all of that is a sign and an indicator to Google that your business is legitimate, and it's going to help boost you in the search results. Right. Period. For free. You just have to ask for those reviews.
Alrighty. Let's see here.
It's 6:38.
It's 6:38. So we're just getting started on these episodes of the Gauge and the show, and I feel like we're definitely we finally got a new light. So
we're moving up in the world.
We got a new light. So we are starting to get things.
We're superstars.
Starting to get things settled in a little bit more. We are still trying to probably keep these episodes to. We said anywhere between 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So we're about 40 minutes in right now. But feel free, to let other inspectors know about the show, to follow.
Also feel free, because we've heard some feedback just this week that from some people that 6 o'clock is great, from other people that 6 o'clock isn't great. So we'll probably be sending out some kind of poll or something.
Yeah, let us know. Because
we don't want to just do this for ourselves.
Yeah,
even though it's really fun.
If there's a better time that works for you to join these live episodes,
so we'll be looking at all of that.
We're all ears on that.
We have a whole little thing laid out, and we're exploring just what is going to be what's going to work best for the people who we're trying to reach, which is you guys. So
and I think we'll probably be looking at doing these lives from other platforms as well at the same time. So we might be going live from Instagram and Facebook at the same time.
That's wild.
If we get 1,000 followers on TikTok, we'll go live on TikTok.
Oh my God.
And speaking of TikTok, which is also HomeGauge Web Services, if you are on TikTok, give us a follow there as well. But yeah, maybe we can just for these last few minutes here, we can talk a little bit of what our ideas and our goals for this show is going to be.
Okay.
And how we're moving forward with the gauge from here. What's your goals? What's your goals for the gauge? What's your goals, Carla?
Well, so
gauge?
Dan and I were like, we should do a show because there's a lot of stuff that people ask us a lot. There's a lot of advice that we give a lot. And also, we just really wanted to have kind of a casual yet, friendly, informative way to connect and reach a bunch of people. So our goal is really to help you build your business. And, HomeGauge, we have thousands of inspectors on our software, and also who have websites with us. And, moving forward, and the last show we had Jordan from support on here. But moving forward, we certainly plan on having, we already have a couple people who have agreed to come on, in the industry, to be a special guest with us. So whether it's, an inspector who has agreed, who we won't name yet, or someone from our support team, or Susie, who's been doing a lot of stuff with onboarding and training. This is going to be a company-wide thing. We started it as kind of web and, on our account, but it's really for the whole company.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to be a resource and a tool for you, and to share information that matters, that's going to, help you grow your business. So the ask@homegauge.com, is not only for questions. If you have show ideas, if you want to be a guest, if you want to recommend a guest, I mean, if there's a question you have, basically it's me and Dan on that email. So
let us know if you have any kind of suggestions,
because we're doing this for you, not for us.
I manage the Instagram accounts that you're watching us on, and also the TikTok accounts. So if you have any, you can also just DM us in this account. But I've been reaching out to other inspectors on Instagram and TikTok, seeing if they'll come on the show. And so I definitely have a list of inspectors started that I want to invite on, and then other industry partners and vendors. So we will start reaching out to those individuals here shortly and soon, and getting more involvement onto the show. It's fun with just us two. It's fun and all, but we're definitely going to have other inspectors and other people on the show as well.
What Dan's trying to say is that he really liked having Jordan as a special guest.
I mean, Jordan was pretty good. Talking about his singing karaoke skills was pretty good. How about Paul or even Russell?
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh.
If we have Paul on?
Not opposed.
Yeah, that would be a fun time. Well, I think that's pretty much all that we have today. Next Level Home Inspection says, love it, good work, guys.
Thanks, Next Level Home Inspections.
Thank
Come
you.
back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Whatever date that is, March.
It's like the 21st, 22nd.
March 22nd is the next episode?
I don't know how I know that date, but I do believe that is correct.
What is today?
Well, today, I don't know. Hold on, I'm looking.
Today's the 8th? Oh, today's
I was
the 8th.
Right, it's the 22nd.
Okay, so the next episode will be March 22nd. Oh, did you want to talk a little bit of a sneak peek?
No.
No?
No.
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 Okay. All right. Well, then that's all we have for you tonight.
But maybe next time we'll have a sneak peek at something. See, you leave them with a cliffhanger, and then they're like, what are they going to talk about? And then they'll come back.
Okay, where's your clicky clacky?
Oh. Am I
You're
okay?
clicky clacking the end.
All right. I got the official clicky clacky, guys. Okay. All right. Thanks so much. We love you. Thanks for joining.